We haven't seen the Houston Texans play a football game in 15 days. It's been a while. Is this a new season? Is this team completely different? Or are we going to see more of what we saw the first 3 weeks of the year with the Texans playing against a team that actually has a pulse? We'll discuss that, some things that went down over the weekend in Houston sports, including Kevin Durant signing an extension to stay with the Rockets, and a controversial moment that involves an ex-Houston Astro that went down, I believe, on Friday night. And after all of that, we go through everything that went down in the National Football League of note this past weekend. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast. Hit it!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow up, motherfucker. You kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi!
Farewell.
Nope, wrong button. Oi!
Paul, stop talking.
Nope,
Listen.
wrong button. Oi! Got it the third time. Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can join this show Monday through Friday at noon Central Time, also occasionally after major Houston sporting events. We will have tonight a Texans Seahawks watch party for a late-ass game. We'll probably do a post-game show afterwards. That's separate from that. Going to be a lot of fun. And Tuesday, we will have a show. Wednesday, there's not going to be a show. An announcement on that coming on tomorrow's show. But it's available after the fact as well, wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast. If you want to cut me off mid-thought, super chat me on YouTube, and I'll play this. And then I will get to your comments right away. We're retiring former Houston Texan Wade Smith telling me to stop talking and to listen. You want to get in touch with the show the old-fashioned way, gallantsays@gmail.com is how you can send an email. You can also give me a phone call, 281-836-3912. Let's read some comments here. Let's read some comments. Greg Todd asks on Twitch, Paul, are you happy Billy got canned? Did Bill O'Brien get got today? Bill O'Brien. I know that he was asked about his job status over the weekend. Bill O'Brien. Let's see. Well, a lot of people want him out, but I don't see anything that indicates he has been canned. So, not sure where you threw that one out there, Greg Todd, but listen, I got no issues with Bill O'Brien. None. I would say we had some back and forth from time to time that got a little testy, but I don't have any issue with the guy. I still text him every now and then. Richard Balskin, congratulations on your first time watching the show, Richard. People are pointing out it's off to a great start. Not a great start. No, you're right. I'm all over the place to open this thing up because it's been forever since I've had a Houston Texans game to react to on a Monday. I mean, shit. I'm trying to think of the last time I watched a Houston Texans game live, and I think it was the Texans-Titans game because I had to watch Texans-Ravens on NFL Plus since the girlfriend and I were on our way back from Oregon as they decimated Baltimore. I think if you're a Texans fan, you should do what I'm doing going into tonight's game. Go into this thing blind. Everything you saw the first 3 weeks could still be deep in this team's DNA. Some of what you saw in blowout wins over the Titans, one that took a very long time for the Texans to get going, or in that win against Baltimore, some of that also might be a part of this team's DNA. But I really have no clue what's going to happen tonight. In a very interesting environment. Because as someone who used to cover the Seattle Seahawks, that is a very loud place to play. Very loud place to play. Since Game 7 for Mariners Blue Jays is also tonight, I'm very curious as to how many people will go to this game. That starts at 9 p.m. Maybe there will be a late arriving crowd because I think Game 7 for Mariners Blue Jays starts at 7. And I think in a city where you haven't had baseball success ever, I would imagine a lot of people are going to be more focused on the baseball game than the football game. So very curious about that environment, but it's a tough place to play. And we're talking about a Texans team with a young offensive coordinator in his first year, with an offensive line that seems to have finally picked a 1 through 5 that they're comfortable with. Left tackle Ariante Ursary, left guard Juice Scruggs, center Jake Andrews, right guard Ed Ingram, and at right tackle Titus Howard. How are they going to fare, though, given that we have seen this team in the past struggle in loud environments? Last year, we saw it against the Minnesota Vikings. That's a tough place to play, too. So how do they handle it? It's a new season. I'm going into tonight's game blind, and I'm hoping that we see a lot of what we've seen these last 2 weeks, but I think for anyone, it would be very optimistic to expect that to happen against a Seahawks defense that is really good at getting after the quarterback with just 4 guys, and a Seahawks offense that has been really impressive to open up the year. But I am excited that we finally have a Texans game to watch because it's been way too long. Now, as I hold this New England Patriots mug, there is a part of me that has enjoyed that I've been able to watch the Patriots for 3 games in a row. Not often that I get to do that and actually sit back and watch as a fan, especially with the team actually good again. But if I were to make a comparison between the Patriots roster and the Texans roster, I think the Texans have more to work with. And it makes this 2-3 start by them very frustrating, even if those 3 losses came to a Rams team that looks very good, kicked the Jaguars' ass yesterday, a loss to a Bucs team that some consider to be the best in the National Football League. We'll see them play against the Lions a little bit earlier in Monday Night Football. And then they lost to a Jaguars team that has looked like shit for a couple of weeks. Trevor Lawrence, not a good quarterback. What are they? Go in blind. Don't go in with expectations. You'll probably be disappointed. Go in expecting nothing, and maybe you'll get something out of it. But I'm excited for this game to take place tonight. Let's read some comments here. Ezekiel Tovar says I ramble a bit. Yeah, that's the whole point of the show. That's the whole point. Richard Balskin asks, did I get a job? Is that the news? Wait until tomorrow. I am very happy about it. Don't get too excited about it, but I'm happy about it. Tony the Handsome says the Texans are going to crush Seattle and hear the lamentation of their women. All right, well, I'm going to do the Conan the Barbarian version of that. What is best in life? Conan! To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentations of the women. Some questions Juicy J is asking, who are you rooting for? You were in Seattle for a bit. Been listening since 6:10. Definitely the Texans. Nothing against the Seahawks. I hope the Seahawks do well. But I would like people to care about the Houston Texans. And if the Texans don't have a good record, I know what this city is like. They will unplug. Especially with the Rockets tipping off tomorrow night, which I'm very excited about. Hoping to get Vanessa on the show at some point this week to shoot the shit. Courtney T says, let's go. Seattle, Mariners and Seahawks, big night. Garcia Dad 2019 says 24-20 Texans. Danny Newman asks, who's the running back for the Texans? Who's the backup? It's Nick Chubb is the starter, and Woody Marks is the backup. A lot of people want to see more Marks. Marks catches passes. So there you go. Abby Lieberman asks on Instagram, Abby Lieberman Comedy, Paul is the greatest baseball mind in Houston. Would beating the Seahawks make up for the Astros collapse? No. It's weird how many non-conference games the Texans have had to open up the year. Because tonight will be their third game against an NFC team. And then next week, they play the San Francisco 49ers. So their first 7 games, they'll have had 4 NFC games. I think there's still one more game at some point this year against the Cardinals, but loaded schedule against the NFC to open up the year. Avi says, P.S., God wills it. God wills it. Indeed, but he didn't will it as much as we wanted him to will it at the end of the year. I got 3 questions for tonight's Texans-Seahawks game. Texans related. 1, how many steps forward did this offense really take? How many steps forward? Offensive line looked better against the Titans, and it looked great against the Ravens. It was a balanced attack against Baltimore that allowed for C.J. Stroud to have his best game in years. The Ravens have the worst defense in the league, so you take that with a bit of a grain of salt. And it took the Texans a very long time against a Titans team that's one of the worst coached in the league. Moved on from their head coach. Actually looked decent early on against the Patriots yesterday, for what it's worth. So Brian Callahan, a bit of a mess, because, hey, if you can't even get the first 15 plays, which are generally scripted, right, what are you doing? But back to Texans and Seahawks. How many steps forward did they take? They did take a step forward at least, but was it a baby step? Was it one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind? I mean, it's definitely closer to the baby step. But how many steps forward did they actually take? Also, number 2, going into this year, there was some buzz about the Texans maybe having the best secondary in the National Football League, especially with the addition of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I felt that it had a chance to be the best secondary in the entirety of the National Football League. Has it been that to this point? It's been better the last couple of weeks. And it's been part of a Texans defense that's been pretty damn good. I think that they were bad at tackling against the Buccaneers. I blame them for the loss to the Bucs. The offense is a work in progress, so I'm a little bit more understanding of the offense and their slow start to the year than I am the defense. But how good is this secondary? Because if you watched Thursday's show, we went through some of the numbers for Sam Darnold in this Seahawks offense. They look really good. It's Sam Darnold, so you're like, huh? Really? But can't deny it. Darnold throwing the ball downfield since they started keeping tabs with NFL Advanced Statistics on 10-plus yard throws in the air downfield. Darnold has the best passer rating ever on those. They've only been keeping tabs on this for about, I think, 8-9 years or so. But again, Darnold has the best stats ever throwing the football downfield. This Seahawks receiver core is pretty damn good. Starts with Jackson Smith-Njigba, who some consider to be a top 5 receiver. Most consider to be a top 10 wide receiver. He is constantly open over the deep middle of the field in a way that we often see Nico Collins open. Are they going to be able to slow him down, especially when you consider that the Seahawks have Cooper Kupp as wide receiver 2? And Kupp might not be the same guy he used to be, but he's still Cooper Kupp. You still have to respect him. And you've got a confident Sam Darnold behind an offensive line that's been giving him a lot of time, hanging in there. At times, much like last year, maybe a little bit too long, and just chucking it. And when you got 2 receivers like that, you got to ask the question, how good is the secondary? Will Derek Stingley shadow Jackson Smith and Jigba all game long, like we have seen him do from time to time? I would like to see that happen. That's how good he is. But I don't know if it's going to happen. In the past, DeMeco Ryans has seemed a little hesitant to put Stingley on a one-on-one island. And I mean in the past, year 1, year 2, up to the halfway point. Over the last almost season, there's been more trust in Stingley. And Stingley has been doing a hell of a job when asked to do that. Is he going to get to do that tonight? If he does get to do that tonight, how does Kamari Lassiter look in coverage against Cooper Kupp? I like Lassiter a lot. I think he's got a great physicality to him. But he's been off to a bit of a slow start. Did make some plays the last couple of games. But how's he going to look? How will Jalen Petrie do coming off the best game maybe of his career against Baltimore? Is he going to be exposed from time to time in coverage situations? I know the numbers suggest he's not as bad as some make him out to be in coverage, but is he going to get put in spots which are tricky for him? I don't know. I'm not here to make predictions. I'm just asking the questions. And this is my big question. I am a big fan of Kalen Bullock, the Texan safety. I think he has got incredible range. I think his height also makes him a game changer. I think he has great instincts that we have seen from the first time we've seen him set foot on a football field. In a game where you're going up against a quarterback that is great at throwing the ball downfield, is Kalen Bullock going to make plays? So we've been waiting for Kalen Bullock to make plays, and this is the kind of game where if he's going to make them happen, he's got to make them happen. Can he get a couple of takeaways, a takeaway, or a couple of deflected passes playing center field? This is the kind of game where he's going to be huge. I don't know. None of us know. Making predictions for any game is not something I really like doing. I can feel so confident about a matchup against a specific team, but for this Texans team, especially with all the time that we've had to wait for the next game, and with this Seahawks team that seems to be a really good team, that's also, I think, slowly getting better over time with Mike McDonald in his second year as head coach, and with Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak working together in maybe the best situation he's been in. It's crazy the Seahawks seem to have a good offensive line. I could be wrong on that, but it feels like that is the reason that Darnold is having all this time to throw. So it makes me wonder. So those are the 2 big questions. And the third question is this. Look at that coaching staff. Look at DeMeco Ryans. We know that DeMeco does a really good job defensively when it comes to game plans. But now he's a little more hands-off. Matt Burke is the one that's calling plays defensively. In this game tonight, will defensively the Texans figure something out with Sam Darnold in the way that we have seen this team come up with specific attacks for specific quarterbacks that have really slowed them down? I don't know. And then look at the offensive side of things. I mean, we saw Mike McDonald's defense go up against CJ Stroud as a rookie quarterback. And whether it was game 1 or that playoff game, I mean, it was fucking hard for the Texans to move the football. This time around against Mike McDonald with a little input now from DeMeco Ryans on both sides of the football, where he's being a little bit more of a delegator. Is he sitting with Nick Haley and maybe seeing something in the Mike McDonald defense? considering he's somebody who understands defense probably better than he understands offense, which he played linebacker, and he was a defensive coach with the 49ers. If he's in more of a CEO role, what is it that he sees in what Mike McDonald runs that maybe the Texans can attack? And we will find out tonight. I do not know what is going to happen tonight. I'm expecting the Texans to lose, to be perfectly honest. I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. If they win this game, I don't know if I'm all aboard the hype train again. I think that the game against the San Francisco 49ers, where they're probably going to be playing in what feels like a road environment, I think that's also going to go a long way towards determining whether or not this team is back in a wide open AFC. But tonight, they got to take care of business first before we can even start asking that question. I have my doubts, but are any of those three questions that I asked, is it impossible for the Texans offense to take another step forward? Is it impossible for the Texans secondary that we put so much stock into to do some of the things that we have seen them do in the past? And is it too much to ask for this team with DeMeco Ryans, a coach that last year I think it was fair to ask questions about, just given how he handled press conferences, feeling like he was gaslighting us all the time. Now that he's allowing Matt Burke to run the defense a little bit more and focusing more on the offense, which is something that we have seen going back into the offseason, can he find something to attack in that defense? Very curious to see. Very curious to see. A couple of not Jags, sorry guys. Sorry. I don't want you to, no. No offense to the Jaguars fans out there, but I don't want to compare the Seahawks fans to the Jaguars fans. More comments here. Dennis Hernandez is asking, will Woody Marks get more playing time? Well, if the Texans are losing, yes. Garcia Dad says the Seahawks can't run the ball. Neither can the Texans. This is not going to be a great running game kind of game, you know? If you're picking up a running back on the waiver wire for fantasy football, good fucking luck. I don't think either team's going to be able to run it tonight. Could be wrong, though. Captain Photon, what's up? He's picking the Texans to win tonight. Also Toronto. Ezekiel Tovar says it's going to come down to who can pick the defense better. CJ Stroud, Sam Darnold. With you there. And how crazy is it that we are now in a world where you could argue Sam Darnold is better at picking up defenses than CJ Stroud? You know? Shelton says, Texans need that second chance at old Sammy D. Can't let him get away with that stuff he pulled last year. Right, with the Vikings. That Vikings game was wild. I mean, they got their asses kicked. And then after the game, the Texans offensive linemen were like, well, actually, we weren't as bad as everyone's making us out to be, and the refs should have figured their fucking shit out. Like, okay, sure, dude, sure. What other comments do we have? Nick's Truth on Twitter says, more like Monday midnight football. Fucking stupid, NFL. Yeah, I agree. The 9 p.m. kickoff time sucks. I suppose it makes more sense than these staggered kickoffs that they're doing where, like last week, you had Bills-Falcons kickoff at, what was it, like 6:15? And then you had, what was the other game? Was it Bears-Commanders? Bears-Commanders kickoff at like 7:15. That was weird. I didn't really understand that at all. Anyway, guys, it's time for a old segment that you might remember. We used to do this on Tuesdays, but this allows us to run through everything that went down over the weekend in sports that we didn't have a chance to get to. So I'm going to play a little music in the background here. And everybody, what did you miss over the weekend in this wild and wacky world of sports? Did you catch everything this weekend in the world of sports and beyond?
I do not recall that, okay?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Sorry, I have no recommendation of that.
No idea.
Absolutely not.
And now, in case you missed it. Yeah, in case you missed it, everybody. Don't you love all these little jingles that we got in the background? Hell yeah. Please, for the love of God, do not copyright strike us. These songs are great and they haven't been used in so long. Yeah, a little guitar solo here. So, for those who don't know, Kevin Durant signed a contract extension with the Houston Rockets over the weekend. Here's the report per Shams Charania. Houston Rockets star Kevin Durant has agreed to a 2-year, $90 million contract extension with the franchise. His business partner and boardroom CEO Rich Kleiman tells ESPN the new deal includes a player option in 2027, 2028. More details on the extension. Wild to think about this, but Durant was eligible for a max extension of $120 million, but understood when he chose the Rockets as a trade destination that he'd be sacrificing money, in this case around $30 million less, so that the sides can partner for the long term and give the franchise team building flexibility. This is a post done by Shams Charania that, let's be honest, is more than just a back pat, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, for the agent, Rich Kleiman, that gave Shams this scoop. I mean, hey, this agent could have gotten more, but he took less. And it's because Kevin Durant isn't selfish. And some credit due to Kevin Durant for taking a little bit less money to help the team out, for sure. You don't see LeBron James doing this. But at the same time, I mean, it's still a lot of money. It's a 2-year, $45 million a year contract for a guy that is 37 and has played enough basketball to make it surprising to hear that he's 37 years old, right? So I'm all for giving Durant credit for taking less, but considering it wasn't that long ago where James Harden was complaining about not getting enough credit for taking less money to be with the Philadelphia 76ers a little bit longer, I guess I'm just turned off by the idea that we have to compliment a player who's still getting paid an outrageous amount of money for taking a little bit less than what they could have possibly taken. It's a decision that every Rockets fan should like, and hey, respect, but I'm also not going to kiss the player's ass for taking less. Oh wow, what a noble move. Like, come on, you know? He's still making a lot, and I'm sure that there's a potential for handshake deals behind the scenes that give him some of that money back. I'm not suggesting Kawhi Leonard things with the Fertitta family. You know, I'm not. I'm just saying, consider that as a possibility, you know? Some comments here about the deal. Castro says, time for Rockets basketball, baby. Not a Jose Abreu moment. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. More comments here. John Belmer. What's up, John? Hopefully the Blue Jays and Texans win. I will never complain when Seattle is sad. LOL. I mean, I like Seattle people, but I understand why some people don't. We'll get to that in a moment. Here's not a great moment for Seattle sports fans over the weekend. Let's keep the music going again. Amen Thompson said this in a Sports Illustrated article that I clearly need to read. Amen Thompson. I feel like I'm the best defender in the league. Whoa. I don't disagree. Some might. I don't. Most athletic player in the league. That's for sure. Is there a type of player that Amen Thompson is completely incapable against? Maybe, I don't know, Wemby. But no, I love Amen Thompson's defense, and he is the foundation on which the Ime Udoka era sits. And I get it. Like, you got Alperen Şengün and you've got Durant now, but it's all about Thompson and his defensive versatility, along with Tari Eason and Dorian Finney-Smith too. I do not think that's an outlandish thing to say. I'm very curious as to how other NBAers are feeling about that, because that was a bit of a Friday news dump, that post being made by NBA Central on Friday morning at 8:34. I gotta read that article. There's I think a Sports Illustrated cover with Kevin Durant on the front of it. And I've also got to watch that Kevin Durant, James Harden doc over the next couple of days. We are hoping to have Vanessa Richardson on the show in the next couple of days. We'll see if we can make that happen. College football. The Texas A&M Aggies are still undefeated after a drunk as fuck win over Arkansas. And that game's always crazy. I thought that this game moving away from Jerry World would perhaps tone the crazy down. They win that one 45-42. I watched this game at a house that is divided. I watched the Texas game with my best friend. The others watched the Aggies game inside, and I heard a lot of hooting, a lot of hollering. There was a moment in this game where it looked like Arkansas might be able to pull off something crazy. Probably right before halftime. Since they scored that touchdown late, it was 21-20. But the Aggies hung on. And while they had a tough time stopping Mike Washington for Arkansas, I mean, look at the offensive performance. Marcel Reed with one of his best games. 3 touchdown passes, averaging nearly 9 yards an attempt. They ran the ball for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns and averaged 6 yards a carry. It is Arkansas. They're 2-5. They've fired whoever their last, what was it, Sam Pittman? They fired him. It was funny seeing on the sideline Bobby Petrino again, and he's not wearing the neck brace. It kind of feels out of place without the neck brace. But they are undefeated, and I imagine, I'm not sure if did the polls get released yet? Yes, they have moved up to number 3 in the AP Top 25. They are one of just a handful of unbeaten teams left in college football. Ohio State, Indiana, who are 1-2. Then it's the Aggies at 3. After that, you got Georgia Tech, who's somehow 7th. And if you go a little bit further down, it's BYU, 7-0 after winning the Holy War over the weekend. I believe Georgia Tech is quarterbacked by ex-Aggie Haynes King still, as Georgia Tech took down Colorado on, was that on Saturday? Yeah. Georgia Tech did not play very well in this game, but Haynes King had a 45-yard touchdown run with a minute left to win that game for Georgia Tech. So, good for the Aggies. Meanwhile, if you watched Texas-Kentucky, holy shit. That was a terrible watch. Awful offense throughout the game. Arch Manning stinks. This is my first dose of Arch Manning in a couple of weeks. I know that last week against Oklahoma, people were wondering if he was back. I mean, Kentucky sucks, and Arch was missing so many easy throws, and I think that's the most concerning thing. If you're a Texas fan and you're not out on Arch Manning, I'm wondering what Kool-Aid you are sipping. He's good at running, but he's so fucking inaccurate. I don't get it. I really don't get it. He's been so disappointing. More, in case you missed it. I'm going to mute the music again because I want you to hear things for yourself. In Friday's awesome Mariners-Blue Jays game, which the Mariners won to take a 3-2 series lead and send the series back to Toronto with that lead. They lost last night. But in in Game 5, there was a moment that involves an ex-Houston Astro, and a lot of people had takes on it. In case you missed the moment, here is when George Springer got plunked by Mariners pitcher Brian Wu. Looked awful, and it sounded like a lot of people were cheering. It really sounded that way. We have a variety of different opinions on what actually went down there. A variety of different opinions. What actually went down? I know that there were a lot of Mariners fans who responded to that post, reposted by Sleeper Astros, that said some things along the lines of, as a lifetime Mariners fan, I was repulsed by the behavior. As a longtime Ends fans, that's not what we are about. Huh. So they believe that Springer was booed when he first came to the plate for the Blue Jays. And they also believe that there was a lot of booing because there were a lot of Blue Jays fans in attendance. My friend Stacy Rost, who works at the station that I used to work at, was at the game. She wrote this. This was a scary moment, and the vast majority of baseball fans don't want to see it. But as someone who was there was absolutely not 40,000 fans cheering when Springer was hurt. Booing was weird, but it was a smaller part of the crowd and mixed with Jays fans booing Wu. So they were definitely booing him when he went up to the plate. And there were some that were cheering when he got hit. And I was kind of taken aback by the amount of people that still have this angry, vitriolic energy towards the 2017 Astros in the Mariners fan base. I say it as someone who looks at the 2017 Astros. Did cheating happen? Yeah, they're banging a trash can. Or other teams cheating? I think so, and I think baseball kind of put the kibosh on further investigation into some of the other teams that were cheating. I say this as somebody who was supposed to have an interview with somebody who was going to talk about the widespread cheating and sign stealing and the means that were being used to relay signs across the sport. And then all of a sudden, like 5 seconds before the interview was supposed to happen, he canceled it. But that's neither here nor there. I haven't done the journalism, the investigations into all these teams. I just think it is suspect that the Astros are the only team that got investigated, given that I know that during the 2017 World Series, there was sign-stealing paranoia from the Astros for the Dodgers, just like there was Dodgers for the Astros. The Dodgers might have been up to something. The Yankees might have been up to something. Whatever. Let's just go back to what happened there. Mariners fans really hate the Astros, and they hate ex-Astros. And I think they think they're all scum. I'm going back to a couple of posts that were made here. I saw one made by Nico Tamurian. Springer takes a ball off the right kneecap, obviously in a ton of pain, gets booed loudly as he takes first, then cheered as he leaves the game. He's a cheating Astros player. Cheater gets booed. This person eventually, and look, cheater, don't cheat, cheating, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And this person, Nico Tamurian, actually made, as you can see right here, his replies only for people that he mentioned. So he closed it off because things are getting a little toxic. My guy Joe Fan, who used to cover the Seahawks and would occasionally do some work with us at 710, reposted this saying, not a great look for Mariners fans. And some people were talking about the booing directed at Wu, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people are saying, don't cheat, don't cheat, don't cheat, don't cheat, don't cheat, don't cheat. And he kept going. credit to Joe, who's like, why the fuck are we thinking about trash cans when the Mariners are down 1 in the American League Championship Series in a pivotal Game 5? And you got more responses like this. You're soft. Weirdo. The biggest scandal in modern sports history. We're supposed to forget about it? It's bizarre. Never forget. Like, what? But okay, hey, listen, if you want to still be angry about it, fine. Just know that George Springer is an awesome dude. This was a person who was considered to be the heart and soul of the Astros clubhouse. And you might say, oh, cheaters. Oh, okay, whatever. But there's a video posted by the MLB Network that a lot of Astros fans have reposted because they were mad about what was going down in Seattle where he's getting booed. And there's a video, the MLB Network posted this, and it's 9 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but look up George Springer and Mateo Sanchez and watch this video. Springer is a guy who's done a lot to advocate for people who grew up with a stutter, because he did too. Springer's a good dude based off of everything that I have read about him and everything that I've seen said about him. I've never met him. We're not friends. All I'm saying is he's a stand-up guy. It's kind of fucked to cheer someone as they leave the game and to cheer the guy getting plunked because he was part of a team in 2017 that stole signs. Am I being a hypocrite here? Maybe. I don't know if Alex Rodriguez had been plunked during the peak of my Red Sox fandom, especially after that moment where he got into the fight with Jason Varitek at home plate, maybe I would have done the same thing when I was 15. But considering this took place such a long time ago and he's not even on that team anymore, it's strange. And I think it's weird that Seattle is one of the cities that takes it as personally as they do. Maybe it's because there's a diehard sports market. But, like, I don't know. Didn't the Mariners always suck? Like, early on during the Astros' glory years? Hey, at least they were checked in. There was some pushback from manager John Schneider to the cheering and booing. Here that was after the game. This is pulled by KJR, a radio station in Seattle.
George is about as tough as they come. And, I think he'll have to really, really be hurting to not be in the lineup on Sunday. So we'll see how he is. On that note, I know this is an awesome atmosphere to play in. And it's really, really cool to play here. And I think the fans that were booing him should take a look in the mirror and understand what kind of player he is. And I'll stop there, because when a guy gets hit in the knee and is in obvious pain and you have 40,000 people cheering, not the right thing to do.
Was it 40,000 people cheering? Probably not. Especially considering Blue Jays fans, for whatever reason, maybe because Seattle's close to the Canadian border, Blue Jays fans travel very well. I guess they're like the national team of Canada because there's only one team in Canada. They travel very well. I have heard in the past that Mariners fans would be very annoyed by the amount of Blue Jays fans who would show up for a Mariners-Blue Jays game, to the point where during a Mariners-Blue Jays game that I went to back in the summer of 2021, I actually wore an American flag Hawaiian shirt. But I think the Canadian border was closed, so there weren't that many Canadians at the actual game, at least as far as I could tell. Whatever the case. Those comments got a lot of pushback from people in Seattle. And there's one that I want to highlight. And this is someone I never met. And I don't know. I'm sure this person has no knowledge of my existence, but I did think this post was funny. How does he know who was booing for what? There were 10,000 Blue Jays fans in the crowd. They may have been booing Woo for all we know. So zip it, dork. I love it when a sports talk show host who's like 5'6", which is, in my estimation, actually true, is talking shit, calling someone a dork. Come on, dude, you're small. I think that he can respond in kind after a loss where one of his best players gets hit in the knee. He's not sure of his status going forward, and he's hearing a lot of cheers. Does he need to know the dynamic of the crowd watching the game out there? Just a few cheers are enough to justify what he thought happened out there, you know? Like, do you think he's going to look like that meme with Drake and the one guy where they're pointing at the laptop and he's like, oh, yeah, of course, after the game? No, he's pissed that one of his guys got plunked and that people were cheering him because he's a good guy. But he's a dork. Okay. Also, I'm going to do this. 6-7. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Shout out to Dorino for the super chat. He says that's why the Supersonics left that weak, depressing city. No, I'm not going to go that far. That has nothing to do with why they left. Blame Starbucks for that bullshit. That's all on Starbucks. Howard Schultz, father of Jordan Schultz, who is an NFL reporter now. They're the reason that these Sonics are no longer in Seattle. Springer's an awesome guy. I get being mad about 2017 and all that shit, but can we pump the brakes when the guy gets hit in the knee and we're what? Doing math here. 8 years removed from 2017. And on top of that, you're losing in an American League Championship Series that doesn't involve the Astros. Just a thought. Just a thought. We have some more comments. You can actually text the show, 281-836-3912, or send an email, gallantsays@gmail. Some comments from Lawrence outside Stafford on the text line. I worked for a CEO who lived next to Springer in Siena. The dude waved at me. Maybe he was just being neighborly, but I'm on Team Springer. Hell yeah. He also says, you cannot root for the coffee sippers after they intentionally hit George Springer. I mean, I want to see Seattle Mariners fans happy because they were cool with me when I was up there. I get that Astros fans don't necessarily feel the same way. I do not like that there were a lot of Mariners fans who were seemingly happy that Springer got hurt, but I would like to think that's not the entirety of the fan base. Then again, it is sports, fanatics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What other comments do we have before we dive into the National Football League? Cow asks on TikTok, do we believe in CJ Stroud? Yeah, I do. I think he has some of the best touch on his passes in the league. I think he's got surprising athleticism. It would be nice if he used his feet a little bit more. I think he's got some poise. And it's really a matter of, can he get all the poise that he had his rookie season back that he seemed to lose some of last year? It depends on the offensive line in front of him. And I really wonder about this offensive line tonight because that Seahawks pass rush can get to the quarterback very easily with just 4 guys. More comments. Joseph Alt asks about Christian Kirk being out. Thoughts on that? Well, time for Jaden Higgins. Time for Jalen Noel. Will they actually get to play? I don't know. Shout out to the GIFs, Jonathan Sanford and L Jr. I don't know how TikTok GIFs work, but shout out to those things. Junior says, all I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Their offense is great. Defense, but hey, they won. Junior Bronco says, everybody take a minute, laugh at the Houston Texans. We'll see. I think we got to wait until after tonight. A Beast Potato who I believe has the avatar of a corgi. Shout out. Corgis are cute. Texans in Seattle at the wrong time. Either rage from missing or amped from celebrating. I am confused by what that means. DGO4150 says, what's up, Paul? It's been a minute since Facebook. I'd like to see the Mariners beat the Blue Jays. Yeah, I do too. Fuck Canada. Fuck them. All right. Not Santa says on X, your Seattle friends are going to get a double dose of hurt tonight. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen to Texans Seahawks. I truly do not know. Trey of Texas says, I just got in actually working in Seattle this week. What was the prediction for tonight? I think the Seahawks win. I'm not going to make a score prediction, especially because if you make predictions, you're supposed to pat yourself on the back when you're right. And I don't know. I mean, I'm talking out of my ass for making a prediction. I have questions about this game. It's one, did the Texans offense actually take baby steps forward? Two, is this secondary going to hold up against a Seahawks passing game that attacks downfield? And three, is D'Amico Ryans in more of a CEO role? Is he going to help the offense crack whatever it is that Mike McDonald and that Seahawks defense are doing? Those are my big questions. All right, let's do a little NFL. A little NFL talk. I got another awesome little bed we can play in the background while we talk about the National Football League. This is the best one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The biggest stories in the National Football League from yesterday. Broncos had the win of the day in the game of the day. 33-32, they took down the New York Giants. That was an awesome game, and I wish that I had stuck around watching it because I did not watch it. The Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. I think that's more about the Giants not being very good than it is about Bo Nix and this Broncos team. But they do deserve credit because they were trailing 26-8 with just 10 minutes to play. They scored touchdowns on 3 straight drives, took advantage of an interception of Jackson Dart, who was trying to do too much, and a 3-and-out by New York. Giants did score with about 37 seconds to go, but the Broncos somehow allowed the Giants somehow allowed the Broncos to get into field goal range using just 1, 2, 3 plays to get there. Incredible. So Bo Nix and the Broncos are 5-2 in a game where, it took the Broncos a long time to get going. I really do think this is more about the Giants stinking than it is the Broncos arriving. But if you watch that game, it was a hell of a game. Other games, as we continue to take a look at what went down in the National Football League over the weekend. Once again, the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the National Football League. The Raiders suck, but the ease with which the Chiefs took down the Raiders yesterday, 31-0, truly impressive. Patrick Mahomes threw for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 of them to Rashee Rice, back from suspension in the most tone-deaf way possible. They are going to be tough to stop. That defense is very good as well. And that Raiders offense with Geno Smith in charge, not doing so hot. Chiefs are the best team, I think, in the league, though. The Bucs deserve a lot of respect for what they are doing and overcoming. But the Colts have the best record in the National Football League. They are 6-1, and they beat the bejesus out of the LA Chargers yesterday, 38-24. In that game, Jonathan Taylor ran for 3 touchdowns. He's looking like the best running back in the NFL. And once again, Daniel Jones and that offense, they are really clicking. Shout out to Shane Steichen, who definitely deserves Coach of the Year buzz. On this season, and we are 7 games in, Jonathan Taylor has 131 carries for 697 yards. That's over 5 yards a carry with 10 touchdowns. He has scored 3 touchdowns in a game, not once, not twice, but 3 times. This offense is cooking. And it is hard to explain that this offense with Daniel Jones under center is as good as it has looked. But, I mean, this was a road game against a Chargers team coached by Jim Harbaugh, and they did what they needed to. Impressive stats for Justin Herbert. 37 of 55 for 420 yards and 3 touchdowns. But he did have 2 interceptions. That Chargers offensive line, not looking good. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. But that was a hell of a performance. Shout out to Syracuse guy, Arande Gadsden II, who I thought was awesome in college, who had 7 catches for 164 yards and a touchdown. If he is available in your fantasy football league, that is 100% somebody that you should pick up. And inexcusable if it is the case. Inexcusable. What else went down in the National Football League? The Eagles won in impressive fashion on offense, 28-22 over the Minnesota Vikings. Jalen Hurts, 19-23 for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the score is misleading in this one. Vikings, who had a rough outing from Carson Wentz, were on the bad end of some officiating. There was a controversial touchdown catch by T.J. Hawkinson that was overturned by New York. And there was another missed call in this game, and there's a case to be made that the Vikings should have won this thing. Jalen Hurts throws it downfield to Devontae Smith. He throws it downfield to A.J. Brown, both of whom I think were happy to finally be involved in the offense, as Saquon Barkley once again had a rough outing, 18 carries for 44 yards. I do not think this game means the Eagles are back. I don't. I do not. Some other 5-win teams. Navius25 says, my Rams went off on the Jaguars. Yeah. The Jaguars, I think, are who we thought they were, and that does reflect poorly on the Texans that they lost to that Jaguars team. They beat them handily. I think the final score was, 35-7? Not great. Good for the Rams, though, who seems like every single year under Sean McVay, they are a hell of a team. Trevor Lawrence as starting quarterback for the Jaguars. The Jaguars probably regret that contract. Not much that you can do with him. Travis Hunter at least had a big game, finally. 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. So at least offensively, this guy who supposedly wasn't doing much on the offensive side of things when he was in college at Colorado, practicing more with the defense, he's looking pretty good out there. More from around the National Football League, the 49ers, who the Texans will play this coming Sunday, also won again. I mean, they keep winning, and they are very, very injured. How much credit do you give them for a 20-10 win over the Falcons? Well, the Falcons just beat the Bills. And, I think you would believe going into that game that the Falcons would take care of business just based off of what they'd done the week before. Mac Jones, not great. But Christian McCaffrey, fantasy football owners were probably pretty thrilled with this one. 24 carries for 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 catches for 72 yards. They held Bijan Robinson in check. Despite all the injuries on defense, they don't have Fred Warner. Keep on winning. It's a good team. My Patriots, they go in to Tennessee, and after a slow start, they cruise to an easy 31-13 victory. Cam Ward had one of the most embarrassing fumbles returned for a touchdown you'll ever see. Drake May, up there in odds for MVP, 21 of 23 for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. As many touchdowns as incompletions. Pretty damn impressive. He's looking good out there, ain't he? More around the National Football League. The Cowboys offense is on fire. CeeDee Lamb was finally back. Cowboys won 44-22. Dak Prescott, 21 of 30, 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, back in the mix, 5 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown, including a 74-yarder. George Pickens with 4 for 82. Jake Ferguson, 7 for 29. And Javonte Williams, 19 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown. Cowboys are 3-3-1. And that Washington Commanders team that some are maybe looking at now as if they are the 2024 Texans, they're struggling. Jaden Daniels is now hurt. And it seems there's a lot of frustration with the offensive line, which they brought in Laramie Tunsil to fix. Very interesting, in my opinion. More around the National Football League. The Bears, they've won 4 in a row. Oh, who would have thought? Now, they were playing the Saints, who suck, but they've won 4 in a row. They're 4-2. Statistically, not a very impressive performance by Caleb Williams, but on the ground, the Bears ran it 40 times for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. They averaged 5.6 yards a carry. Meanwhile, Micah Parsons won the 4-1-1 Green Bay Packers a game. In this game, Micah Parsons had 3 sacks of Jacoby Brissett, who was once again filling in for an injured Kyler Murray. See how long Murray's out. 10 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns by Trey McBride. And the Panthers have won 3 in a row, though. How much credit do you want to give the Panthers after a game where they take down the god-fucking-awful New York Jets, who are 0-7 and completely hopeless? Bryce Young did get injured in this game. He an ankle injury, so Andy Dalton came back in. Justin Fields got benched for Tyrod Taylor, who threw 2 picks. Things are bad in New York. We'll see if they make any moves at the trade deadline with it closer and closer and closer. So there you go, everybody. That is our look around the National Football League. Let's read some comments here, which you can make the old-fashioned way. Gallant says at gmail.com. You can also send a text message, 281-836-3912. Let's go to Lawrence outside Stafford. Is the ref a bitch for calling a penalty on the Tushy Pushy? I guess I missed that one. Penalty on Tush Push. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Are you talking about... Are you talking about another team getting penalized for a tush push? The Bengals, right? Was that it? Or was it the Steelers? The Steelers tried to run it, but they got called for a false start in Thursday Night Football. And the Eagles kind of get away with that all the time. Yeah, I think that's fair to argue. So that's on the tech side of things. On YouTube, Sean Martinez asks, "Am I taking tips now? Do you get feet pics?" Well, if you super chat on YouTube, find out. If you pay me a little money, I'll just play that drop over and over again. HTX Rhino asks, "How do I feel about French Canadians?" Well, I'm 25% by blood French Canadian, and I'm some 55-ish% Irish or some shit. I don't know. Nothing says I'm Irish like a last name Gallant. Well, fair, but some of my grandparents had the last names Krogan and Kivel. There is a French side for sure. But lots of Irish names. When Irish eyes are smiling. There's also Borland, which is Scottish, among other last names. I'll be honest, though, I haven't done that much research on it, on the family. I just know that I am probably mostly Irish. And I think my complexion should be a giveaway. And also, take a look at my eyes. Look at my green eyes. They're green. They're green like a shamrock. They're green like a shamrock. They're green like how my stomach feels after a pint of Guinness. A pint or 12 of Guinness with an Irish car bomb afterwards. That's how I feel. But I'm black Irish. I don't see color, but I'm black Irish, everybody. And now you know. Now you know. 75 Corchester says, you're scaring us, Paul. Greg Todd says that's probably why he was blocked on TikTok that one time. Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. I have been blocked in the midst of a broadcast. It has just been stopped. I actually do think I remember what it was for now that I think about it. But I'm not going to repeat that on the air because I don't want to get taken off the air on TikTok. Greg Todd asks, where's your pot of gold? Well, how would you need a pot of gold when you got this right next to you? Why would you need a pot of gold when you got this beautiful pussy next to you? And I'm saying that because I'm holding a cat in my hands right now. She was asleep. She's very asleep. And now she's probably thinking to herself, damn it, why is it that this man is so obsessed with me? What is his deal? What is he doing? What are you doing, honey? Want to go back to your spot? I'm sorry. There you go. What else do we have? Oh! Ready for a little politics? So I was thinking if I had the time to, maybe this would be the episode where I finally talk about my experience in Seattle Chill Dog. And then I started digging through everything, and I really want, whenever I do that, to be the best possible production it can be. So we're going to wait. But I will tell you this. Seattle was an interesting experience for me. And politically, it showed me the extremes of one end of the political spectrum that I hope I never find myself around again. Because I don't like being judged for having different political opinions than my neighbors. I felt that while some of their ideology that's in Seattle actually is based on empathy and a desire to help others, I think that the militant way at times that they would address pushback and questions were a tad ironic given what went down over the course of this weekend. And in case you didn't know, there were no king protests all over not just the United States, but the world on Saturday. There were 15,000 people reportedly in Houston at the No Kings protest. That's at least per organizers of it. 13,500 to 15,000 gathered in downtown Houston to show support. They are a response to what they believe is overreach by President Donald Trump and opposition to authoritarian leadership. It was in Chicago. If you didn't see the video from Chicago, holy shit, a lot of people were there. I believe one of my friends was actually out there. There's a lot of people. I mean, that's an impressive amount of people to be rallied for anything. I am at the point in my life where I don't know what is and what isn't AI, but I have yet to see something report that this was artificial intelligence. Boston, there also was a protest. This is posted by Lincoln Square HQ. I have not seen it fact-checked on X, but seems to have been a lot of people in Boston, Massachusetts. To bring it back to just what this was all about, it's cool that people feel that they can, in our country, in mass, protest against something that they don't like. That's part of what makes our country great. You do have the right to protest anything. I don't personally understand what protests accomplish. But at the very least, for these people, it's a mass gathering of like-minded people who want you to know that there is a large percentage of our country that doesn't like the president. Do things get a little bit wonky with these protests? Yes. I thought it was pretty ridiculous that there was a No Kings protest in, of all places, London, England. Who would have thought? They literally have a king. But there was a protest in London, England. All right. Cool. I also saw that some of these global protests against kings had their rhetoric toned down. Specifically, this, which was written by Democrats abroad. We've changed the No Kings theme of other events around the world to No Tyrants so as not to mix messages in a country with a monarchy. We're also swapping out no crowns in favor of no clowns. What? If you're going to do a No Kings protest, protest the king. Otherwise, do you actually have the right to protest? Aren't you living under the authoritarian regime that you're protesting in a country that's not yours? I think this was happening in Canada too. Doesn't Canada, well, they have official independence from England. Aren't they a part of like the British Commonwealth? Don't they have kings and queens on their fucking coins? Whatever. Weird, right? But hey, it's a good time for like-minded people, you know? A lot of dancing going on. It's like a high school musical protest. I mean, look, they're grooving. This is a protest against authority. Look at them. They're getting down. I can do it too. Wait, was I doing it with them? No, I guess not quite. But hey, listen, you want to protest? Go ahead, protest. If you're going to protest kings, make sure you're also protesting LeBron James. I think it's ridiculous that we let LeBron James refer to himself as King James. Right? No kings, no Burger King. No kings. Why the fuck is there a team called the Sacramento Kings? Why is there a team called the Los Angeles Kings? What are we doing? Wasn't there like a Sacramento Monarchs team or something too in the WNBA? Ugh. We do have a weird culture that obsesses over the British royal family, but no kings. The British royal family wouldn't exist in that subculture without a monarchy that has been, at least in a figurehead, in charge of England and other countries for the longest time. Some of them, like the byproduct of hundreds of years of incest. We are weirdly fascinated with them, but no kings. No kings. It would be really funny if there was a no queens protest, you know, but like they would require a feminine version of Trump or something like that. Maybe Caitlyn Jenner someday. I don't know. You can protest no kings. So I'm not here to tell you, hey, you shouldn't have done that. I'm not here for that. But when talking about authoritarianism in government, I wish that the left would be a little more reflective of things that were rather authoritarian in the not so distant past that they sometimes gaslight us about. I say this as somebody who lived in Seattle and saw a city shut down for longer than any other city in the country. And this directly affected my employment, my job. And considering I'd moved up there, hoping to, at the very least, stay there for a few years being on the radio, when the city got to a point where everyone was working from home, no one was driving in, all businesses were closed, like, I'm just happy that the people that were the parent company of my radio station kept us employed as long as they did. I'm really thankful for that. But how could you possibly succeed in a city that cracked down as much as they did and that got mad at anybody for asking questions, for pushing back? It's a mindset that I've noticed while up there in Seattle. At times, when a rule is put in place, people just fall in line with it. They don't ask a question about it. I'd point to one. I've never understood why people drive so slow in Seattle. Speed limits are 55 everywhere, and people actually abide by the speed limits. Now, I am from Houston, Texas, and people drive like maniacs here, and perhaps I have become a maniac thinking that he's on the Autobahn driver. But I always felt like when a rule was put in place in Seattle, people in Seattle were going to follow it and not ask the questions. And as I lived there longer and longer, I started to be like, isn't this crazy? But when you ask these questions, you have to ask the right people these questions, because a lot of people would dump on you and push back on you if you ask about it. But, you know, we hear a lot of talk about authoritarianism, and a lot of people just do not like Donald Trump. And that's fine, but shouldn't you not like small businesses being shut down during the pandemic while big corporations get to stay open? Shouldn't you not like seeing people lose their job because they refused to take a medical procedure that at the time seemed experimental, that you couldn't go into a bar or a restaurant without proof that you had received this procedure, that over time was told to us by those in government had a 100%, is the word efficacy? Efficacy? I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the world, as you can tell. But there was a moment in time where we were told that that vaccine, like, it would stop the spread entirely. If you get it, you can't spread it to other people. And then slowly over time, they're like, well, that's not actually the case. It was like, well, it shouldn't have been the case ever. But that was the messaging. That was how it was framed by people in politics to the public. And if you question that, you could theoretically be censored online or get in trouble. If you didn't fall in line, you could lose your job. You couldn't visit loved ones who were sick and dying in specific parts of the country. Schools were shut down. And, you know, to go a little bit further, in recent times, certain states were removing political candidates that weren't in line with the ideology from the ballot. We had a nominee for president after Joe Biden announced he wasn't running that was not selected by the people. It was selected by people behind the scenes. I get that a lot of people look at Donald Trump and they see authoritarianism, but you should see authoritarianism everywhere, not just because of the guy with the hair, you know? So to go back to the No Kings protests and, you know, protesting against authoritarianism, hey, if you want to show that you're sick of what's happening right now, whatever it is, and you actually have a sound argument as to what it is that you're protesting against, great, by all power, do it. But what I hate about events like this is it gives politicians that we should all be annoyed by a platform to pander with very little substance behind said pandering. I saw that a favorite of many, Jasmine Crockett, spoke while at Houston City Hall. Here is a Instagram video of that.
The little turd in charge. He's wreaking havoc on this country.
The little turd in charge is wreaking havoc on this country.
And every time that I travel, it doesn't matter if I'm in a small town, a big city, what I consistently hear is people saying that they are feeling hopeless. And let me tell you something. I understand why people would feel that way. But let me tell you, if
She loves to say, let me tell you.
you continue to allow them to make you feel hopeless, they will win. Today is about showing the rest of the world who we are.
Okay, but you're hopeless to stop any of what's happening with these protests, which, again, hey, it's your right to do it. But don't tell me to not feel hopeless, because my hope rests upon people like you impacting change. And when you're as divisive as this specific candidate are, how the fuck are you supposed to actually get any compromises across the aisle? Huh? More from Jasmine. And look, I know some people like her, but I think she's fake. I say that because she's one of those people that talks with a different accent around different people. It's kind of like in The Departed. You ever seen that scene where they're confronting Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Martin Sheen's character, and Mark Wahlberg's character? And they're like, oh, you probably had a different accent on the weekends, huh? You're with your uncle on the weekends, hanging in the Southie projects, and on the during the week, you're up in Andover. So that's one of the politicians that I don't think help our country at all. I think this person is what you would call a TikTok or Instagram politician, in that like they are good at creating viral clips of themselves. It's kind of the same way you see some stand-up comics who are great with crowd work, but maybe don't have that much substance. They post the videos and clips of them doing crowd work. Like, this person is very good at getting clips of herself out there, so everyone knows who she is. But is there a lot of substance behind what she does other than pointing the finger? I don't really think so. Look, the right has their fair share of people like this too, but it seems like the No Kings protest was just a platform for people to pander. Here's another example of that. Here is a politician who has been in power for, I believe, what's that, like 40 years, doing something symbolic. That is Nancy Pelosi, everybody. Look at that. She broke a crown. She showed him. Meanwhile, she's making tons of money because she probably knows about what's going on in the government because she's been in power for such a long period of time. And no kings, but hey, running as a congressperson for 40 plus years, when you're approaching 90, that's fine. It's totally fine. Liz Warren had a post. Liz Warren said, since 1773, the people of Boston have made it clear about how they feel about kings. Okay, but Liz, you're not from there. You're from Oklahoma. Actually, was a Coug, believe it or not. Did you know that? Liz Warren was a Coug? Go look it up. And you know what? You know, strong, powerful women. Go Cougs, etc., etc. But, like, stop acting like you're from Massachusetts. Don't play that. We got Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who personally I was never aware of until after he stepped in for Lori Lightfoot. There was a story about Brandon Johnson grooming bill. What was it? He spent $36,000 on cosmetics in 2024 and 2023, including $8,200 on a makeup artist. Here is Brandon Johnson at the Chicago No Kings saying something in front of a bunch of people that really lacks a lot of substance. Hang on a second. It's not like his mouth is moving there and there's no words. Paul had to unmute the website, which he sometimes forgets to do. No kings. Okay. I mean, yeah, but like, hey, what are your ideas? Like, you're in charge of a city that clearly does not get along with the president of the United States. And it seems like all pushback from your city towards the president, perhaps justified as fuck you. Okay. But what are you working on other than pushing back on what the president's trying to do? I mean, given the pushback that a lot of these local governments have been able to pull off, whether it's here or in Seattle, there's one Seattle politician, I forget if it's the attorney general or the governor, whose entire policy is like, we're going to push back on everything Trump tries to do. Okay, but like, hey, work on yourself instead of being intentionally adversarial to pander. So that's Brandon Johnson. I think there was more from Brandon Johnson. Here he is giving a little bit of a Howard Dean kind of outline of everything he's against.
If my ancestors as slaves can lead the greatest general strike in the history of this country, taking it to the ultra-rich and big corporations, we can do the same today. I'm calling on black people, white people, brown people, Asian people, immigrants, gay people from around this country to stand up against tyranny and to send a clear message to the ultra-rich and big corporations. We are going to make them pay their fair share in taxes to fund our schools, to fund jobs, to fund healthcare, to fund transportation. Democracy will live on because of this generation. Are you ready to take it to the courts and to the street?
Oh, look at all the hand moving he's doing. Do you think he almost went off? You know, I mean, he's got to have a massive pants tent going on right here, because he's got all these people that, like, they're hearing what he's saying. They're hearing it. They're excited about what he's saying. But, like, what the fuck is he actually saying here? By the way, didn't mention trans people. Did not mention trans people. I'm just saying. So, all I'm trying to say here is, hey, you push back if you don't like them. But you guys are in charge. You guys are supposed to be doing the job of the people that are protesting, perhaps for you. No kings, okay? But you actually have the power to check them, and these, to me, feel like empty platitudes being delivered by these politicians. I think you're just pandering and using this opportunity as a moment to pander. I actually want to give a shout out to a real protest that took place yesterday, because these people have had enough. And we talked about this on Friday's show. We're going to talk about Crosswalk Gate back in Houston, where the Montrose Rainbow Crosswalk, it's gone. And for those who don't know the timeline of the Montrose Rainbow Crosswalk, it was put in place back in 2016 to commemorate somebody who had been killed in a hit-and-run accident, and also to mark that this is where the neighborhood is in Houston. But recently, during construction, which seemingly is always taking place in Montrose, especially on Westheimer, pothole, it was removed for a moment for sidewalk construction. Then it was put back, and now it was removed again. Well, Sunday, we saw some protests against the removal of said crosswalk. And I think there was a little more substance behind these than what we saw over the weekend with the No Kings protest. But that's just me. Here's some video from the Chronicle.
Crosswalks here! Crosswalks queer! Crosswalks here! Crosswalks queer! Where?
Crosswalks here, crosswalks queer.
We're queer! We're here! We're queer! We're queer! We're queer!
Not saying we're here anymore. That guy's got a tank top on that says, "You gay, bro?" And I go to that neighborhood all the time because, oh, Paul, yeah, of course you go to the neighborhood all the time. No, I like the El Tiempo there. That's the best El Tiempo. That's the best El Tiempo. Come on. What are we doing here? So here's some more. protest highlights from yesterday.
Crosswalks here! Crosswalks here! Who streets? Our streets! What do we want? Safe streets! When do we want it? Now! We're here! We're queer! We're here! We're queer! We're queer! We're here! We're queer! We're here! We're queer! We're here! We're queer!
Talked about this on Friday. Is it a little bit distracting to have a rainbow crosswalk on the road? Perhaps. It's been there for a while. Kind of crazy that federal funding for a city is based entirely off of whether or not you have rainbow crosswalks. Right? Also seems silly to unpaint it, then repaint it, only to unpaint it again. Can we all agree on that? Just a question. So anyway, that protest started yesterday, and last night there was a sit-in that actually ultimately led to arrests. More video. This is from the Cron. So they did a sit-in here. As you can see, now the cops are lining up. One person is saying, shoot me.
Shoot me! Shoot me!
But I mean, hey, listen, I mean, this is actually a protest. These people stayed out there, and some of them even got arrested. Here's some of the video. This is from Gage Goulding.
We know that we are the most diverse city in the country. We have everybody in this city, in this community, including our queer and trans siblings, and we all belong here, and that's what this represents.
We're here today because this crosswalk doesn't just represent pride in Montrose and pride in the culture of this community, but it also represents safety.
It kind of sucks that they're attacking this crosswalk and this pathway. You know, this has been here before I moved here, and it's been here about 7 to 8 years now.
You know, these people actually have balls. I give them credit for that. Like that's actually a protest. You're getting attention to something that is truly a ridiculous issue. It's such a waste of attention by the right. It really is. It's just pandering. It's pandering because of a couple of loud people, similar to Jasmine Crockett, some loud politicians online that are like, oh, you gotta get rid of this. What a fucking waste. So I think those people have some balls for doing that. That's an actual protest. I don't know what No Kings accomplished, but hey, at the very least, these people tried to stop their crosswalk from being repainted, but now it's been repainted, and now you got a normal crosswalk next to my favorite El Tiempo to mark what is actually called in Houston. This is not me calling it that. Someone was like, oh, that was funny, Paul. I wish I was that funny. No, that's what they call it. It's the neighborhood. Montrose, everybody. Montrose. Anyway, at the very least, people are focusing on the right things, like crosswalks instead of bodies in the bayou and potholes, and the fact that we're building something that's not going to be used in downtown Houston for something that's going to be here temporarily, the World Cup, the Republican National Convention. Like, good. We're focusing on the right things. No kings. No kings! Anyway, some comments before we hit the road. Now that we come to the end of the road, it's a natural. Don't be mean, 75 chord jester. That's not cool. That's not cool. Jared says, I saw you in that video, Paul. Is there someone that looked like me out there? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself. Mike Munoz asks, Garrett Wilson and ETN for James Cook. I have Jamar, London, and Addison, bad running backs. Mike. Now, you might be new here. Okay. Because this is a show for everybody. This isn't a show for you. And, maybe send me a little money. All right, maybe I'll think about answering this question. But to put this as politely as I possibly can. Fuck your fantasy team. No offense. No offense, but fuck them. Fuck them. I had the same thoughts as Pardon My Take does. Like, no one cares about your fantasy team. And figure it out. It's my advice for every fantasy owner out there. There's so many people. There's so many outlets for people that want fantasy football advice. Guys, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your gut. What's the fun in having somebody else make decisions on your fantasy football team? Oh, well, Amita Kimes said this. Oh, Field Yates said that. Who fucking cares? Do what you think is right. Do research about it. You get to determine. That's what's fun about this. It's kind of a cheat code to ask for advice for people online. And also, most of the people that are watching don't give a shit. No offense. I give a shit about you, Mike Munoz, though, and I appreciate you watching on the stream. I appreciate you watching on the stream. Okay? Anyway, all right, yeah, we're done. We're done. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into today's live show. If you did, you can join it live weekdays around noon or occasionally after major Houston sporting events on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Twitch at Gallant Says. Give me a sub. X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. Give me a follow. On Instagram at Sports Gallant. Follow me. On TikTok at Gallant Says. Follow me. And if you're watching along, please like this video. Facebook too at Paul Gallant Sports. But no one's on Facebook anymore. It's a hellscape. It's a hellscape overwrought with artificial intelligence stories that are complete bullshit. Almost all of them involving Charlie Kirk now. Crazy. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts after the fact. So if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you roast my ass, I will read it. Anyway, until tomorrow at noon Central Time, so long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. We will be back for a watch party tonight, Monday Night Football, Seahawks and Texans. We'll keep tabs on what's going on in the other Monday Night Football game, plus the American League Championship Series